Good morning, this is Mrs. Show. I need you to get your notebook out and your pencil. You may want to look at your multiplication table as well on page 120 of your agenda. Today we're going to review for our quiz. So we're going to go through a quick review to make sure you're ready for today's quiz. All right, so in your notes, just call this review. Okay, if you want to, you can call it exponent review. And our quiz is just like this. All right, so I want you to look at the first problem, and you don't need to write this down, but just watch. First thing we have to be able to do is classify our numbers. So when I classify negative 9.76, I ask myself, can I make this a fraction? Well, yes, I can. This is negative 9.76 over 100. So I know if I can make it a fraction, it is a rational number. So I also have to ask myself, is it an integer? No, it's not, because it has a fraction part. And it's not a whole number because it has a fraction part. And it's not a natural number because it has a fraction part. So when I classify this, this would just be rational. Okay, on your paper, number 1, 2, 3, classify each number. Go ahead and hit pause. When you get done, hit play. All right, let's see how we did. So number 1, negative 10 is rational because you can write it as negative 10 over 1. It's also an integer because integers are positive and negative whole numbers. It is not a whole number because it's negative. And it's not a natural number because it's negative. Number 2 is rational because you can write it as negative 2 3/10. So since you could write it as a fraction, it's rational. It's not a whole number integer because it has a fraction part. It's not a natural number either. Number 3, you should have had irrational because if you take the square root of 14, you get a decimal that keeps going and doesn't repeat. Okay, now we're going to review 2 square roots. So on your paper, number 1 through 4, find the 2 square roots. That means you have 2 answers. Hit pause now. When you get done, hit play. Okay, number 1 should be positive and negative 8. Number 2 is positive and negative 10. Number 3 is positive and negative 15. Number 4 is positive and negative 16. Okay, now I want you to try 5 through 8. You're using PEMDAS. So remember, parentheses, then exponents. Square roots, you do when you do exponents. Square roots classify as an exponent. And then you multiply and divide from left to right, and then add and subtract from the left to the right. So hit pause now, try 5 through 8. When you get done, hit play. All right, check number 5. You should take the square root of 81 to get 9. Negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. The square root of 121 is 11. So you got a negative 27 and a negative 11. They're the same, so you find the sum, which means add the higher number's negative. So see if you got a negative 38. Number 6, you got to take 75 minus 50 to get 25. And then the square root of 25 is 5, the square root of 16 is 4. Last thing you do is add to get 9. Number 7, we got to do our parentheses first, but first our square roots before we subtract. So square root of 225 is 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. Remember, when they're written close together here, it means multiply. So you've got 36. All right, number 8, we've got to do our parentheses, but inside our parentheses, we've got to do our square roots first. So the square root of 144 is 12. The square root of 64 is 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. But then I have this negative sign out in front. So a negative times 4 would be negative 4. All right, I just want you to watch this one. This one says estimate to the nearest integer. So I've got the square root of 139. So I'm thinking about my perfect square numbers. I know that 12 squared is 144 and 11 squared is 121. And what I have to figure out is 139 closer to 121 or closer to 144? Well, it's 5 away from 144 and it's 18 away from 121. So it's closer to 144. So this would be about equal to 12. That means approximately equal to 12. So it's closer to 12 than it is 11. All right. So what I want you to do is number on your paper 1 through 4. Okay, and try to estimate each square root to the nearest integer. Go ahead and pause the video now and then hit play when you finish. Okay, so let's see how we did. So on number 1, that's about equal to 15 because the square root of 229 is closer to 15 squared. It's closer to 225 than it is 16 squared. 16 squared is 256. Number 2 would be about 11 because 11 squared is 121. It's only 4 away from that. 12 squared would be 144. Number 3, the square root of 354 is closer to 19 because 354 is closer to 361 than it is 324. And number 4, the square root of 105 is about 10 because 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, 105 is closer to 100 than it is 121. Okay, so let's go to our next problems. Okay, think about this one. Juan estimates square root of 51 to be about 8. Is he correct? Why or why not? Think to yourself. Do you think square root of 51 is about 8? Okay, let's see if you thought correctly. So think about your perfect squares. I know 7 squared is 49. I know 8 squared is 64. So square root of 51 is actually about 7, right? So he is incorrect because 7 squared is 49 and 51 is closer to 49 than 64. All right, last page. Can you please number 9, 10, and 11 and compare these? Put it is less than or is greater than sign. Go ahead and pause the video now. When you get done, hit play. All right, let's see how we did. So number 9, square root of 91 is a little more than 9. It's 9 point something. It's less than 10 because the square root of 100 is 10 and 91 is less than 100. So did you have is less than? Number 10 is also is less than because the square root of 37 is going to be a little more than 6 because 37 is 1 more than 36. So it's like a 6.1. Okay. And number 11, did you have is greater than? 8 is greater than the square root of 62 because square root of 62 is going to be less than 8. It's only like a 7.8 or so because 62 is less than 64. All right, thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle. How do you feel about today's review? If you don't feel so good, if your thumbs down, please go back and replay the video and try the problems to make sure you do a really good job on your quiz today. All right, go ahead and go to your quiz. Have a good day.